Once we let go of the idea that God cannot be separate from us, that to be separate from God is scientifically impossible, logically problematic, and spiritually wrong, we get to experience the truth that God has been inside us the whole time. And anything blocking this truth is something we no longer need. Hey friends, I'm Rob Gurlich. To sum up all the work that I am currently creating, it is about this: demystifying spirituality and amplifying love. In today's video, I want to get into the basics of human needs and the need of spirituality and what spirituality has done throughout the existence of human history and what spirituality has meant to us. Because at one point in history, it just about killed us. When we go back into the ancient beginnings of human civilization as we know it, we had a couple needs. We had to survive, to have food and shelter. And the best way to do that was to be part of a group, to do it together, to make it bigger, to grow it so that we could ward off the tribe that was down the river that wanted some of the resources that we had. And we developed a group thinking, a group identity in that creation, and customs came through and culture started to evolve. And we also had another need to know where we came from, to look at the heavens, to look at the stars. Where do we come from and why are we here? And each tribe across the globe started to develop through their own mystical experiences, through their own spiritual experiences, develop traditions, develop mechanisms of how to connect to the universe, connect to God, to connect to the non-physical reality that some members of the tribe were starting to experience. And we mix that in with the need to survive. How do we have an identity, a group identity, a tribal identity, to answer the question, where do we come from and why are we here? And how do we connect to each other? And how do we beat the other tribe when they attack us? How do we keep living? How do we provide for food? How do we provide shelter and safety? And we mix this all in together into this big soup mix of, wait, how do we get the protection of God, the gods, the powers that are on the other side of the veil of this physical existence? And through our spiritual traditions and our experiences, we took on the assumption, that tribe, each individual tribe, that we had the in with God. We had the right avenue to God, that our gods would be for us. We could go into battle and God would be for us. And eventually, many tribes back in the ancient had many gods, many expressions, trying to understand the mystery of non-physical reality. And then throughout the ages, as civilization became more involved, we had cities and nations all coming together, creating these bigger tribes. Eventually, deeper religious traditions were born, ones that became stabilized throughout human history that we even have today. And then we can go through the era of the Crusades, where we literally had a cross as a flag, going into battle to slaughter people who did not believe in the same version of God, but they still believed in a God. And we believed that we had God on our side, and they believed they had God on their side. And we go head to head with swords and spears and horses to try to kill the other person. Spirituality, this need to be part of a tribe, to be one with a community, and to thrive and to be better than the tribe next door, and to have the perception of God's favor on us, that we were doing God's will and God's bidding, that God was for us in these battles because we needed a God behind us. We thought we needed a God behind us to win, to keep surviving. We mixed the mysteries of the cosmos with our need to survive, our need to dominate, our need to conquer. And we mixed it in and created these crazy religions where blood was spilt in order for that religious expression to thrive. Spirituality, at one point, nearly killed us. You could even argue some of the conflict in the world today still comes down with its roots, while it's mixed with a ton of politics, its roots are still mixed in with my God is greater than your God. That the God that I worship is the true God, and that God will kill the man made God you made up. And we have these weird dynamics of trying to answer the big questions, being part of community, and trying to survive, even though we no longer need to survive in the same way. We still have this ancient group mindset. We have to defeat the people next door before they defeat us. So, God be with us in battle. But now it is 2025. We have technology, we have AI, we have computers in our pocket that can get us information literally with a couple clicks of a button on our keyboard. We have access to the whole world. We have access to every single person. All we have to do is have their digits, and we can talk directly to any person in the world that has a phone, has a computer instantaneously. Video chat, text messaging, we're connected to everything. Every bit of information, every person is intertwinedly connected through technology. And we feel, and there's this rise of energy where we feel less connected than ever before. We still have this need to be part of a group, to be part of a group identity, to be part of a tribe. We have technology that connects every bit of information in the world, and we're spiritually becoming less connected than ever before. So what is going on? I feel that we are in an age of a reset, a reclamation. AI is starting to take over. More and more technology is starting to come into our lives. It's going to automate our lives. It's going to create a void in our lives where there's going to be a deeper craving for spiritual connection. It's going to do one of two things. It's going to drive us deeper into the machine of life, or it's going to drive us into how can I better connect to the world around me? How can I understand who God is, what is the energy of the universe, and who am I, and what is my place in it? Or we will just buy into the machine, we'll buy into the program, we'll buy into the numbness that is being forced and presented to us as options to just have us escape. We get to now have a choice in that. We no longer have to try to fight for our literal survival. We no longer have to fight for our food. Some people do. Some people are still worried about the food on their plate, but most of us have the luxury of knowing what we're going to eat tonight, knowing that we have a roof over our head, knowing that we're not going to be attacked in the middle of the night. I know that that is not evident across the world, but a lot of us that are able to listen to this with this technology don't have those concerns. What comes up to the surface? Who am I connected to? What am I connected to? Why do I feel like I'm disconnected from everything? See, I define spirituality as connection. That is what spirituality is. It's connecting to the universe, to God. We build all of these religious traditions so that we can connect to the energy of the universe, whether we believe that is Jesus and God and the Trinity, or we believe that there are multiple gods in our religious tradition, or it's Allah, whatever the expression is. We believe that we, through our religious tradition, can connect to the creator, the energy, the life force of all things. That is spirituality. It's connection, connecting to the big energy, the big picture, the source of it all, connecting to other people, to have community, to have deeper connections with them, and also connecting to ourselves, because if we cannot connect to ourselves, we will not be able to connect to anything else. This is essentially what spirituality is. You take away all of the traditions, all of it. It's about connecting. When we go to a church, we're trying to connect, but here's the problem. We're now in a place where we have technology everywhere. Again, we have any bit of information at the drop of a couple clicks, literally, and we want to desperately connect spiritually, but we fall back into what we know. We fall back into traditions, or we feel because we were raised in a particular culture, in a particular tradition, that we have to still hold on to that tradition. And what is happening is we have a deep sense of obligation to the tradition, to that spiritual pathway, to that spiritual architecture that was presented to us, that we were born into, that maybe we even had some good, beautiful experiences in, but we have this growing sense of obligation that is no longer connecting us to anything. We just do it. We go through the motions. We hold to the traditions, but we feel more and more disconnected from it. We fall back into the familiar. We fall back into what we know. And I've seen this with young adults as in their 20s and 30s they explore what else is out there in other spiritual traditions, and then they have a family. And then the pressure is on to, how do I raise my children? How do I answer the questions to them of where we come from and why we are here? How do I create safety in all the questions parenthood brings? And what happens, we often fall back into what we know, into the spiritual tradition. But I also see a blankness in those people. Yes, I am following my path of faith. I'm following what I'm supposed to do so that I can raise my kids in this. But what is happening? They still feel disconnected, and their children are being raised in a disconnected spirituality. Because what worked, what was needed at a certain point in time to help us hold traditions together, which helped hold the tribe together, which is still rooted deep into the mode of survival, we no longer need. What technology has become is simple, direct connection. And now what we crave with spirituality is also a simple, direct connection. This is no accident. The rise of technology has also increased the need for spirituality to be simple and direct. If we demystify all of the rituals, if we demystify all of the traditions and all of the complex beliefs and dogmatic rules, what is left? Our need to connect to God, to spirit, to source, to the universe directly. A simple and direct connected spirituality. We want a connection to our own hearts. We want a connection with other people. We want a connection to the magic of the universe. And we want a simple connection to God, to our Creator. Once we let go of the idea that God cannot be separate from us, that to be separate from God is scientifically impossible, logically problematic, and spiritually wrong, we get to experience the truth that God has been inside us the whole time. And anything blocking this truth is something we no longer need. So, what is the results of demystifying all of our religious traditions, all of our past experiences, and our past spirituality? It's direct access to the greatest need that we have. Because when we're asking the question, who am I? Where did I come from? And why am I here? We're asking a deeper question. Spirituality is about connection. And what are we connecting? We're connecting love. That is the energy that we are connecting. When we demystify all of it, all the drapings of tradition, when we demystify all of it, it comes down to our need of love. To be connected through love to each other, to our own hearts, to be connected in love to God, to the universe, to source, to the life, energy, force of all things, which is an expression of love. The deepest cravings in our soul is to be seen, to be known, to be loved. And deeper than that, why we keep trying to find a pathway to God, whether it's through religious traditions or through other spiritual experiences and expressions. We're trying to connect to universal love, to divine love, to God's love, because that is the source of all love. Let's demystify spirituality. Let's amplify love. Let's strip away the traditions that no longer serve us because we feel an obligation to them. We feel an attachment to the culture of them, the traditional historical value that they once were. And we can still hold to those. Culture is very important. Traditions have a place. But what is not healthy is to do it out of obligation and to walk away from these practices still deeply disconnected. Let's connect to love. Let love be the driving force because that is underlying everything that we are trying to do, everything that we are connected to. When we meet a new friend, at the core of that meeting is, can this person love me in a certain way? Is there a certain connection that ultimately at the end of it is there love that's here? Now, love has many different expressions, and this is not the video to get into that. But at the core of it, it's love. Here's the question. At the core of what drives your spirituality, is it to hold to tradition or is it to experience love?